Welcome to episode 2 of Motivating Mondays, a weekly podcast and YouTube series dedicated to help Canadian job developers and other employer engagement professionals develop the tools, resources, expertise, and network needed to excel in achieving sustainable employment outcomes for their clients or students. My name is Christian St. Cyr, National Director of the Canadian Job Development Network, and today I'm going to acknowledge job postings suck. So what is the alternative for job seekers? I don't casually use the word suck. My mother insisted that we never use the word suck and never tell our brothers to shut up. This is just the way we were raised. So when I say job postings suck, I'm not saying that lightly, and I want to really make a point. The point is this: competition to get an interview when a large group of candidates are applying for a job disproportionately restricts workers who have gaps in their work history, who are new to the job market, who are trying to seek work outside their traditional field, or those who have limited Canadian work experience, education, or training. So let's discuss for a moment the two mindsets of an employer who is getting ready to hire. Mindset number one: they're preparing for a lengthy hiring process where they advertise the job thoroughly, carefully review resumes, select candidates for interviews, select for second interviews, diligently check references. This process can take weeks, if not months, and can consume 100 or more hours. Then there's mindset number two. The employer is looking to hire someone, and they look about for candidate suggestions, connecting with colleagues and employees and friends and acquaintances. Should they come across a suitable candidate, they might conduct an informal interview, and while they may do reference checks, often they don't, they've trusted the process and what they've learned from it. Mindset number one is high in data and process and low in intuition and personal experience. Mindset number two is low in data and process, but high in intuition and personal experience. Now, I want to stress this is a generalization. There can be a lot of crossover. Also, many employers work in procedure-driven organizations that require a multi-step hiring process with multiple checks along the way to satisfy a corporate policy or collective agreements. Before you tell me that most employers don't adopt mindset number two, I'm going to remind you the constant refrain of the career development sector, that 70 to 80% of jobs are in the hidden job market. Mindset number two is the hidden job market. Mindset number one is posted jobs. So let's explore why they suck so much. Nobody's telling my mom. Whether a single job attracts 10 or 20 or 50 or 100 job postings, it's unlikely the employer will interview more than 5 or 6 candidates. And while the employer will make lofty statements about hiring someone who's a good fit for the team, someone who's a hard worker, or someone with a great attitude, these are rarely the factors that determines who gets the interview. So let's say, for instance, that an employer attracts 100 resumes, and let's further assume that of the 100 resumes, 80 candidates meet the basic qualifications of the job. The employer can't possibly interview 80 people, so they choose arbitrarily what criteria they're going to take into consideration. While the job might require 2 years of experience, they may sort out people to look for people with 5 years or more experience. While the job posting calls for candidates with a certificate or a diploma, they may choose to interview candidates who just have a bachelor's degree. And while those sorts of add-ons are bad, the eliminations are even worse. They may say, okay, well, let's eliminate applicants with too much education because they might leave too quickly. So we'll eliminate anyone who has a master's degree or a PhD. Let's eliminate those people with international experience and education. Canadian experience is more relevant. Let's also eliminate anyone who's not worked within a certain technology or a certain system, or really any candidate who has not completed their education and training within the last 20 years. All too often, this process eliminates immigrants, youth, mature workers, and anyone who has experienced a gap in their work history, and that's a very large category of people. If, for instance, we were to take an aggregate total of all of the men 25 to 54 years old in Canada, and all of the women in Canada 25 to 54 who are in the workforce, we're going to find that men are far less likely to have a gap in their work history and more accumulated experience than women on average, as women are more typically the principal caregivers of children in our society. I hope you see where I'm going with this. Selecting candidates for interviews is like shaking candidates through a giant strainer, where the remaining candidates, the candidates who get interviewed, are more likely to be between 30 and 50, more likely to be men, more likely to be born in Canada, and less likely to have a disability. It's not likely, but probable, that most employers prefer candidates who are a good fit for their team, who are hardworking, and who have a great attitude, but they don't choose from the 80 qualified applicants who to hire. Instead, they choose those factors based on the 5 or 6 people who get an interview. What is important for us to know as job developers is that this system is not only not working for our clients and students, but it's also not working for employers. The ideal candidates may require less onboarding and less early supervision, but they're also the candidates who are most likely to ghost an employer or leave after a short while or demand higher and more frequent wage increases. Let's explore mindset number 2 for a moment. In this situation, the employer is looking for intangibles first and qualifications and experience second. They're willing to trust that colleague, that employee, that friend, or even that acquaintance before even looking at the work history of the person that they're recommending. It is through this process that the candidate can be measured on their attitude and how they can articulate how hard they'll work and how they'll make a contribution to the team. When the employer has found the candidate they think will be a good fit, they're no longer setting arbitrary criteria. They're willing to make an accommodation for someone who may lack experience because they believe this person can make a great contribution. While I might have convinced you that it's far better to reach out to employers in mindset number 2, there is a major hurdle that I really haven't addressed. Your clients or the students that you're working with are not related to or connected with any of the employer's colleagues, staff, friends, or acquaintances. They're brand new to the country, or they're looking for their first job, or they're coming back to work after a long gap. They don't have a network. It's for this reason that they have to make one. They have to go to networking meetings and job fairs and professional events. But those don't happen every day, so they're going to need to cold call employers. This means that a job seeker needs to prepare a list of 10 or 20 or 30 employers that they would most like to work for. Find out who's in charge, who's the hiring manager, who's the decision maker. Prepare a tailored cover letter and resume to apply in person, and to each one ask for an information interview. It means following up with all these employers on social media, and after submitting their resume, following up again and again. It means demonstrating through job search the qualities that employers are most looking for in job candidates. Going through a formal recruitment process versus scouting candidates produces for the employers much the same results. It's not necessarily better than one is not necessarily better than the other for the employer. One candidate might need less coaching, but not stay around as long. One candidate might require a lot more support and training at first, but might turn out to be more loyal. The difference is for our client and our employment goals. It requires much more work to produce, but can also produce much greater results in a shorter period of time for you and your client. Depending on the size of an employer, if I approach 3 employers, it's likely that one of them is about to hire, needing to hire, or will be hiring in the next few weeks. Hidden job market data suggests 4 out of 5 of these individuals will not hire through a posted job and will instead scout the best candidate. It's critical for your client or student to be that candidate, to make an appearance at just the right point when they haven't yet placed an advertisement. So here's the lesson for today. We need to be less reliant as an industry on employers who are in mindset number 1. They want competition. They want to be able to. They want the selection of multiple candidates and to choose the best candidate on paper. Competition kills the multi-barriered job seeker. And that's fine for us, but why do so many job seekers rely exclusively on job postings? Well, in my opinion, it's like a lottery. It's like the lottery ticket of job search. But instead of the odds being 1 in 100 million, it's 1 in 10, 1 in 20, 1 in 80. When I apply for a posted job, I know there's a chance, even if there's really no chance at all. This can sound more attractive for your clients or students than cold calling 10 employers, interrupting their day, and getting rejected by a receptionist. Ultimately, applying for posted jobs is not a better way to do job search. When a job seeker applies for a job, from the moment they hit send on their computer, they're in fantasy time. It puts off all other job search until they hear back about that job or find a better job to apply for. They're thinking, I wonder what it pays. Could it be hybrid? I wonder when I could start. These are the sorts of questions that occupy a person's mind until after they've applied for a posted job. Posted jobs don't just suck, they're destructive. Each time a person applies for a posted job and then goes days and weeks without hearing anything, it erodes their confidence, their enthusiasm, their resolve. Cold calling employers might be hard, but at least it's something that's in the control of the job seeker. I'm not saying that job seekers should give up on posted jobs. Richard Nelson Bowles, author of What Color's Your Parachute, in his seminal work, also had a low opinion of posted jobs. But to paraphrase Bowles, if there are 14 ways to look for work, and one of them is to apply for posted jobs, still apply for posted jobs. Moving forward, obviously you want to be aware of which employers are hiring in your community and to make your goal to connect with all employers regardless of whether they're hiring right now or not. Make it your objective that if an employer is going to hire, that they call or email you before they take the time to write out or publish a job posting. We want to be on the leading edge of when new employment is being created, not on the back end where we're learning about it once the job has been posted. Thank you so much for joining us today. If you wish to receive this podcast every week, just click the like or subscribe button in your platform. We'd also love it if you could rate or review our podcast. If you'd like to join us live, we meet every Monday morning with job developers from across Canada and discuss a new topic. Meetings are typically about 30 minutes. They start at 8:30 Pacific, 9:30 Mountain, 10:30 Central, 11:30 Eastern, 12:30 Atlantic, and at 1 p.m. in Newfoundland and Labrador. All members of the Canadian Job Development Network can attend these sessions, and membership in the network is free. Just go to jobdevelopment.org and hit the Click Here to Start button. You can join each week's live meeting by clicking on the link at the top of the Job Development Pulse newsletter, which is sent out each week to members of the Canadian Job Development Network. If you have any questions, just send us an email, info@jobdevelopment.org. I hope you have an amazing week. Thanks for your time.